Hello student. In the previous lecture we had studied about what are the main features of models. So in today's lecture we are going to learn about what are the types of model. So let's move on to our topic. Types of model. As I described earlier, the term model has been used in a great variety of contexts. It is difficult to define even the broad type of models without ambiguity. One division is between the descriptive and the one is normative. Here is one is descriptive and one is normative. The descriptive model is a concern with some stylish description of reality, whereas the normative model deals with what might be expected to occur under certain stated or assumed conditions. Descriptive model may be concerned with the organization of empirical information and term as data, classificatory or experimental design models. Once the basis of data from which they are made, model may also be classified into analog, physical or experimental models. The physical or experimental model may be iconic, in which the relevant properties of the real world are presented with the same properties with only a change in scale. For example, map, globes are earth globe, and geological models are a physical or a experimental model. So let's see the general classification of model. A large number of models have been designed, adapted and applied by geographers. A more simple classification of models illustrated with example has been given as follows. First is scale model, also known as hardware models. So scale models are perhaps the easiest types to appreciate, as they are direct reproduction, usually on a smaller scale of reality. So scale models may be either statics, like the models of land surface of geological models, or a dynamic, like a wave tank or a river plumb. Dynamic models are perhaps more interesting and useful in a geographical work. The great advantage that dynamic models has over reality is that the operative process can be controlled. This allows each variable to be studied separately. In a wave tank, the effect of material size, wavelength and wave stiffness on a beach slope can be measured quite accurately if two variables are held constant, while the third is varied. So scale models are often used by physical geographers and especially by geomorphologists. In fact, geomorphologists have carried out fundamental research with scale models in order to investigate processes that are difficult to observe under natural conditions, such as river action, glacier movement, wind erosion. Here you can see glacier movement, wind erosion, marine process, and erosion by underground water. So next is maps. Maps are the models that are most familiar to geographers. They are special types of scale model which becomes increasingly abstract as the scale becomes smaller. At one end of the spectrum is the stereosphere, vertical air photographs which provide a virtually a true scale model of the real world. It is however static and represent only the area shown at one instance of time. A simple vertical air photograph loses the impression of height but still show all the visible elements of the landscape virtually true to scale. A large scale map loses much of the details of the landscape, although it can show building, roads, and other features of this size accurately. As the scale is reduced, the information becomes more symbolic and can no longer be shown true scale. Modification in area, distance, and direction are also needed in map covering of the world or a large part of it. So the Earth may be truly represented on globe, but globe have very little utility in geographical studies. So next is such important models: simulation and stochastic model. Simulation means imitating the behavior of some situation or process by means of a suitable analogous situation or apparatus, especially for a purpose of the study or personal training. Stochastic means randomly determine or that which follow some random probability distribution or pattern, so that its behavior may be analyzed statistically but not predict precisely. So simulation model can also be use a means of analyzing a large number of variables, which is a recurring problems in geography. For instance, the development of coastal spit can be shown that depend on a number of distinct process or wave types. Stochastic simulation models have been also been successfully used in the field of human geography to study of spatial diffusion of a variety of phenomena, including the spread of population diseases such as malaria, smallpox, dengue, fever, etc. So then the term of another is the term of Monte Carlo is used to describe some stochastic models in which chance alone determine the outcome of each move within the condition of the models. Next is mathematical model. Mathematical model are considered to be more reliable but difficult to construct. They obscure many of the human values, normative equations, and attitudes, yet they have a symbolic assertion of verbal or mathematical kind in logical terms. For example, suppose P offer the following arguments: S is larger than K and K is larger than D. Now by virtue of first and second together, S offer the following theorem or conclusion. Which theorem? Therefore, S is larger than D. The logically validity of this conclusion will not change with the change in time. Logically, it had to be true in 3000 BC, 2000 BC, and then 1000 AD. True in 1000 1000 AD. So thus the validity of the conclusion does not depend on the specific historical period. So mathematical models represent the equation of specific process by means of mathematical equation which relate the operative process to the resultant situation. Mathematical model have been also developed in economic geography. Now, another mathematical models is linear programming, which is relevant to many situations in geography. It is a method of finding the optimum solution to the problem in which several conditions must be fulfilled. Next is analog models. Analog models differ from those type of models which have already been described in the analog models. Instead of using limitations of the original or a symbol to represent it, the features being studied is compared with some completely different features by means of analogy. And analog models user depend on user better known situation or process to study as less well known or known ones. Its value depends on the researcher ability to recognize the elements common to situation. These elements constitute the positive analog analogy, the dissimilar or a negative analogy, and the irrelevant or natural analogy. Sorry, neutral analogy are ignored. So analogies have also provided the fruitful in the study of problems in human geography. For example, those that draw on a certain well established relationship in physics. The gravity model is a good example of this type. It is based on the physical observation that the attractive force between two bodies is proportional to the product of their masses divided by the square of the distance between them. Square of the distance between them. The value of the distance in the models is often square up approximate more closely to the force of gravity and observed in the physics. So next is a theoretical model. Theoretical models can be divided into two categories. The conceptual model provides the theoretical view of particular problems, allowing the deduction from the theory to be matched against the real situation. This can be exemplified by the theoretical consideration of the effect of rising and falling sea level upon the coastal zones if the certain conditions are fulfilled. Then the next second type of theoretical models is associated with the world theory. An analogy may helps to illustrate the way in which the vast and growing amount of geographical data may be recognized within the theoretical framework. Geography may be compared with a five-story building, each story being supported by the supported by some theoretical frameworks like law, theory, model, techniques of analysis, data organized in a suitable way for analysis, and lastly as well as geographical data. So I hope you understood about the models like scale model, maps, mathematical model, analog model, or as well as theoretical model. Thank you.